Preston just called me and woke me up and said, "Yo, we're talking about NCB's APO." So here we are. Yeah.
Why are you so
how we
tired?
feeling? Tired. It was a busy weekend. Busy
Oh,
weekend. Very, very busy weekend.
what were you up to?
There was just this event, that I went to. It's called Apex Soluno. Took a lot out of me, so, but
It was
we're back.
worth it though.
Yeah.
It was worth it. Okay.
It was good. A lot of lessons learned and so on. You always have to navigate those things in business. Just try to do better, for the patrons, for everybody. So yeah. I thought it was a good turnout. People enjoyed themselves. Can't complain. So that's good. But
Okay.
today we're here to talk about this APO, right? How you actually feeling about the APO?
Well, we'll get into it. I think
We'll
what we
get
should
into
even
it.
probably start out with is like, what is an APO? Because people
Okay.
probably know, especially if you're like someone who's just getting into it, you've probably heard about IPO, and IPO sound like APO, so they might be like,
True.
oh, is it the same as an IPO? It's not.
Mm-hmm.
So IPO stands for initial public offering. It's the first time that a company is essentially coming to the stock market, or a private company is becoming a public company. And then the shares are going to be able to be traded by anyone on the public versus just the few people who are in the company before, the shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the initial the initial public offering. You offer the shares, people can buy the shares, and they can become shareholders in the company. And then maybe some years pass, and you're like, hey, I want to raise some more money. So I raised some money initially, and I use that to say grow the business, buy a factory, buy a farm, buy some equipment, all those different stuff, or pay down some debt. And
Mm-hmm.
then a few years pass, and you're like, hey, there's this other opportunity. There's this other factory I want to buy. There's this other, we took on a big loan to do this. We want to pay down the debt, so it will make us more nimble. Let's come to the market again. Let's do a secondary offering.
Mm-hmm.
Or one of the types of secondary offerings would be additional public offering. So additional offering to the public because you already did the initial one, so you're going to do more. So that's where the APO would come in.
APO. So
Yeah.
it's done after the IPO.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's
So.
issuing new shares
Mm-hmm.
by a company that's already publicly listed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay.
So NCB would have listed many, but many years ago, before I was even probably born, or I don't know how many years ago, and they essentially want to issue some more shares or create some more shares, and they want to do some stuff with that money. So they're like, okay, we have some opportunities that we want to explore. We think that people would like to buy into the NCB, and maybe those
Mm-hmm.
people, like maybe the pensions or the institutions, they don't want to buy on the market. So hey, let's create some new shares and sell them at a price, and they can get the volumes that they want. So I think that's
Okay.
essentially what NCB is doing.
Mm-hmm. And that price that the offer is open to, it's $65.
Yeah, what we can do, I will share my screen now, and this is just a
Mm-hmm.
reminder for any of you guys that
Or audio listeners. Yeah. I guess you guys can check out the YouTube to actually see the screen. But for now, I mean, audio listeners always get preference. I'm not sure if our video listeners know, but we always release the episodes the Thursday before the Friday, first to the audio listeners.
at midnight,
Um,
ideally.
yeah, at midnight, ideally. Ideally, that is
Mm.
very true.
So this is the NCB APO prospectus. I will try to put the link in the description So you can see you can own a part of NCB. There's a nice logo there. Highlighted some stuff. So invitation by the prospectus, the NCB Financial Group. What they're saying is that they're offering 78.5 million new shares, but they have the possibility to offer more shares up to essentially 117 million more shares. So between 78.5 to 117 million shares. And then they say most of them will be offered at the price of $65 Jamaican. But they do mention that there's a small amount of the shares will be offered at a slightly lower price, $58.50, for some employees. So there's a reserve pool for there. And essentially, let's show you some of the math here. If they just end up getting the 78.5 million shares, that's about 5 billion Jamaican. So it is a pretty large raise, especially for equity raise, especially even compared, I guess, to some of the other previous raises. It's a decent size raise. I mean, the document itself is very long, right? I think it's 344 pages. I'd never really read the whole document, because I mean, I don't feel like it's saying much new necessarily. I usually, with a lot of these, whether it's a prospectus, whether it's a IPO, APO, whatever, they usually have a part where it says use of proceeds. So I always just will go to that part. And essentially, if you're going to raise the money, what are they going to do with the money? Because at the end of the day, it's what they end up doing with the money that's going to increase shareholder value. And hopefully, it leads to an increase in share price or dividends. So the use of proceeds, what they say, what they plan to essentially do with the money, support part of our deliberate plan to reallocate capital, focus on reducing debt. So they have a lot of debt that they've had to take on. I remember like when they bought Guardian a few years ago, they had to obviously do that with debt. And they also said bolster the capital of NCB. So they have, and I know that essentially a large portion of that is going down to paying their debt, because they do have a lot of debt, especially the size of the business that they have. So yeah, anything else you'd want to add to that, Theon?
Not necessarily. I know it's not just to pay down debts. I saw that there's some stuff with Basel 3, which is like these reform measures developed by this committee in terms of like banking supervision and so on. It's supposed to strengthen like regulation, supervision, risk management of banks. And I know that they have higher capital requirements now. So it's almost like they also want to use parts of that money to just bolster maybe like working capital for the bank itself. So it has to have a lot more cash on hand. There's a greater emphasis on those kind of stuff to ensure that banks can absorb losses while remaining operational. So yeah, pay down debt, more working capital. Okay, I think those are the reasons for the actual APO.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the other thing, I guess what we can also do is look at so one of the things I was looking at, right? If you look at it, what's interesting is that the APO price is $65, right? The day that we're recording this is Tuesday, May 7th. You notice that the market price, you can actually get it for cheaper on the market. It closed today at $61.22. And if you even let's look at the kind of volumes that you could get. Today, a decent amount of money traded, 4 million Jamaican. So their volumes, look at this. You could have got lots of shares easily at $61 below APO price. So that was something that I guess I found interesting, because at the end of the day,
almost
if
like
you're
why bother go through the hoops?
If you're a retail investor and like you're not, the only person I would say this makes sense for would be like an institution essentially, or someone with billions and billions, like, or hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars So maybe they are like, oh, I want to put a certain amount of money into this, but it's gonna be hard for me to like buy. I just want to buy one time or whatever. So for them, it might make sense, but it's just interesting because if I'm a retail investor, why would I buy it for $65 when I can get all the amount I might need at $61?
Truly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that
So I
as
think
well. Maybe retail isn't their target market. I don't know. I don't know. I can't say who their target market is. I mean, I'm pretty sure based on the whole the whole equity climate right now, I don't think they would be exclusive to just the institutions. I'm pretty sure they'd want to broaden their horizons and have everybody participate, especially for the amount of money that they're looking for. I'm pretty sure they probably would have said it in the prospectus. But let me see. It's how many shares they want? 75
it's
million.
5 billion.
They're
5
looking
billion
for 5
plus.
billion. 5 billion. 5
5 billion
billion.
Jamaican, yeah.
You know how much money that is? Like when was the last raise that was $5 billion? I'm trying to remember. I can't remember the last raise that was asking for no IPO. No, even Wigton at the time was 11 billion shares at 50 cents. So that's about 5.5 billion. That was the IPO. I'm not sure how much TransJam was, if you can recall. But we haven't had an equity raise of that size in a long time. Yeah, pretty long time.
Yeah. The other thing that's interesting, I was watching a certain video with some of the executives of NCB, and they were essentially they were asked, I think, the question about the price of $65 and why would someone buy the APO when they could just buy it on the market for cheap and stuff like that. And they were saying that okay, they believe that the $65 is a steal, and it's not. I mean, they work at NCB, so I guess there's obviously bias there. But something that was interesting at the Mayberry had a forum, or what was it? No, it wasn't a forum. I think it was like I don't know what it was. They did something. It wasn't just on the NCB APO, but I think they were just speaking generally about like maybe Mayberry's portfolio, stock portfolio, and stuff like that. I think they're wow. It's funny. I think they're supposed to have an actual forum today. Wow. I think I actually missed it. I think it was at 6 o'clock.
This is with Mayberry?
Yeah, like they were bringing on the NCB guys, like some of the guys from NCB. I think that was supposed to be today, I have to double check, or maybe it's tomorrow. But they were supposed to be talking about. Okay, my point was that I remember Dan and MJE. They seem to be very bullish on NCB. They bought a lot of. I wonder if I can put this up. They bought a lot of NCB. What's going on? They bought a lot of NCB last year, and they were saying that okay, they believe. I think it was Dan Theok and whatever from Mayberry. He was saying that hey, he believes that the price for NCB is a steal essentially. That the price that the $65, and he was saying that he thinks it's going to be oversubscribed or easily subscribed at least. Yeah, I'm just looking at it here. Oh, yeah, cause look at this. So this is Mayberry's. This is for the year ended December last year. They bought 46 million US. Oh wow, they bought. I didn't realize they bought so much ECL. Wow. Wait, they bought a lot of dollar, but notice they bought a heavy amount of NCB. 46 million US worth of NCB, and NCB is now 2.9% of their entire portfolio. All right, so they were buying NCB. They think it's going to be heavily oversubscribed. No, this was just all of 2023.
All of 2023. If you
Yeah.
look between January and December of 2023, NCB has traded between 79, almost 80. Well, let's call it about 79,
Mm-hmm.
$70, and a low of $61.98.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you look at the big volumes, which is in July, right, when the big volumes are traded, that's
Mm-hmm.
around $69.
Well, I'm
So,
trying to
I
pull
mean,
it up. Yeah,
oh
essentially, you're
man,
saying that they've been buying likely above the
yeah,
APO price.
they've
Yeah.
definitely been buying likely above the APO
Yeah. Hold
price.
on. Yeah, you can actually. Hold on.
So, I'm wondering how they feel about that. And are they still as bullish? Because you're saying that in an interview they were bullish on NCB. How
Yeah.
recent was that? That was
That
recent,
was like
like since
a
the
week or
APO
two
came out.
ago.
Mm.
Yeah, the APO had come out and they were talking about it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure. So there are a few reasons. And we had an episode about why we like how to pick a stock. That was the episode, right? A beginner's guide. I'm pretty sure that was the title of the episode. And some of the things were believing in management, this and that. And since Michael Leachin has, come back at the helm of NCB, he's done quite a bit of shake up in the company. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of people have lost their jobs, whether it's from the top senior executives all the way down to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have lost their jobs. There's been a lot of like restructuring,
Mm-hmm.
different roles, hiring different personnel, whether it's non-Jamaicans to actually run certain aspects of the business. So maybe he does have a plan. Maybe he can see it, or some other people can see what he has been doing and say, all
Mm-hmm.
right, yeah, this is a good reason to invest in this company or to invest in this stock.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they have their own reasons, and maybe that's why they're so bullish. I
Mm-hmm.
know, Michael Leachin has always been very vocal about, running his dividend check. Yes. Yeah, he came back and just like, run me that check ASAP. And they paid a dividend, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people
I
would say
think
it's
two
small.
now. They paid two now.
They pay two. Yeah, exactly.
I think
Yeah.
two, yeah.
They pay, yeah. So they're, honestly, like, I get it, especially from let's say you have a lot of money, like a Mayberry, and you have that much shares in NCB, and now NCB now becomes a dividend stock again because they used to pay
Mm-hmm.
quarterly dividends. That's good
And
cash
the
flow for
yield
you.
used to be pretty high in the past.
Exactly. The yield used to be
So,
pretty high. Even now,
yeah.
I think well, not even the yield. I was just talking about the PE ratio. It's 18. It's not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For those who look at price to equity ratios and those kind of things, that's not too bad.
Price to earnings, you
However,
mean?
price to earnings. Sorry, price to earnings ratio. Price to earnings ratio. Yes. So I mean, you know, uh, yeah, for some people, it makes sense. For some people, it really does make sense, and
You
maybe
think there's
that's
some.
what I
Well,
think that's what Mayberry is looking for, just that cash flow.
yeah, I
That
mean, they like
promise.
stuff. Because if you look at things like, they like, I think, Dollar is paying almost quarterly dividends now.
Hmm.
SBL with their quarterly
Yeah.
dividends, I guess. So, yeah. But one of the things I was pointing out, I think I got sidetracked. Um, so on the forum, that it was the LGI forum, right? They were talking about, it was with, I think, Robert Almeida and Angus Young, right? They were talking about, that they believe essentially that the $65 price was a steal, and you won't be
Hmm.
able to get NCB at this price. And I think even Mayberry guys are saying, they think that within like the next year or 2 years, or I don't remember which timeline they gave. I think it was May. I think it was around that time. They were saying that, hey, they don't think NCB is going to be, trading at this price. But one of the things that I always try to think about is that, if these guys are saying, well, it keeps freezing sometimes, but yeah, if these guys are saying it's such a good deal, I want to see if they're going to put their money in it too. Because if you're saying, yo, this $65 is a good price, they should be screaming buy, buy, buy. And they should also be
They
buying.
should be
Because if
buying.
I'm seeing, if I'm seeing them buying up 65, but then once again, the point is if they're, like if I worked at NCB and then I'm like, okay, the $65 is a good price and I see it trading at 61, why am I not buying that up?
Well, I mean, don't NCB employees and so on get like a discount? I'm pretty sure
I guess
they
that
get
there's
like
a
a.
reserve pool. I don't know who. I should probably look to see who exactly qualifies for it. But one of the other points too is
Yeah,
that
see
the
it here.
meds.
It's falling within the employee reserve pool priced at $58.50.
Does it specify
I'm not
which
sure.
employees though?
I'd have to
Is
search through
it like
properly.
senior management? Is it like the CEO could buy, COO could buy?
I'd have to look again.
But yeah, one of the things too is that you meds NCB, AIC Barbados. This is the top 10. AIC Barbados, that's leeching, right? And that is just under 50%. Well, I guess when you round it up, it's 50%, right? I want to see, is he going to be buying into the APO? Because I remember there was an article, where was it? I'm trying to see if I can find it. He said, Michael Leachin, biggest buyer investor in the APO. Like, I think there was an article that had him quoted saying that he would be the biggest investor in the APO, but this was from like a while back. I don't know if I can still find this.
I mean, in order for him to not be diluted, he has to
Wait, you saw
defend
this
the stake.
article? Why Chris Berry is both right and wrong about NCB's APO? This was from November last year.
I saw that. That's crazy. I didn't see it.
He said, "Oh wow, he was on X or Twitter. NCB should cancel the APO. It serves no purpose in the grand scheme of things and would take pressure off the stock." Interesting.
Oh, that's what Chris Berry said.
I
remember when he tweeted that, saying that NCB should cancel the APO. See, oh wow, the last thing he wants to see is a dilution and further erosion of the stock price. Well, APO would dilute his shares. Imagine you're Chris Berry and you've been buying above that APO price, and now they say, oh, and then anybody can actually get this much cheaper.
Well, if he liked it at 70, he should like it at 65.
I guess, but he would be diluted if he cared about, his
well,
percentage.
That's only if he doesn't buy in. If he doesn't,
yeah, that's only if he doesn't buy in.
Yeah.
Same with Michael Leachin. He would also be diluted than anybody else.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I think is going to be interesting. So I'm trying to find, I wonder if I can find the article that said it, because I found it interesting. I was like, wait, so that means you're going to be buying that? I'm trying to see if I can find it. But yeah, that's another thing I'd say that would be interesting to see if he's going to end up buying in heavily.
What do you think Chris Berry means by it would take pressure off the stock?
So I think Gary Pearce, there was another, I don't know if it's the same Mayberry form I was talking about, or maybe it was another. No, I think it was another one. Maybe it was like the last one or something. Gary was talking about, he was saying that with NCB, they were bullish on NCB, and I'll try to link it. So this is essentially what I got from what he was saying. He was saying that usually with the APO, the fear is that most APOs in the past have been priced to a discount to the market price. So the stock is traded at 100, the APO is 60, 70, 80, whatever. It's below the market price. So if I know an APO is coming, say I bought at $50, the price is now trading at 100. And I know an APO is coming, so it may trade at 80. I could just sell 100% profit, take that money, and then buy back into the APO. That just makes logical sense. If I know it's definitely coming below the market price, but he was saying that we don't really know if it will come below the market price, because if it doesn't come below the market price and it's whatever price, then you can just buy it. So that's what he was essentially saying.
Mm-hmm.
So
You think it makes sense to have an APO above market price? I mean, outside of what you just said, um, why not just buy it? It's so much easier to just buy on the open market, especially as a retail investor. Because if you see NCB, like, what's the purpose of buying at 65 when you can buy at 60 and have a much better discount at 60 rather than getting it at 65? I also believe, and of course, this is all just, it boils down to supply and demand. But, once you increase supply, it's much harder for that stock price to move. So if a lot more people, and they call it the APO effect. I mean, there's been discussions on it on Twitter, in a lot of different spaces. But if you now are seeking $5 billion, right, and that 78 million shares now are out there, a bunch of random people have these shares at around $60, and so on. It gets much harder for that stock price to therefore move, and it would take a lot more demand for that stock price to move. We can see it with other APOs too. Like, how many APOs have gone by? I can't think of one APO that went by and the stock price has moved drastically since the APO. I don't know if you can think of any, but I can think of. I mean, you can meds all those companies that have done APOs: KP Re, JMMB.
I actually
You
did.
know.
Are you seeing my screen still?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was doing
Wow,
Excel
my
thing. I
brethren is
didn't.
such a nerd.
So I didn't do all of them. I just did. So I did NCB, JMMB, Dermon Trading, Cygnus. The
Mm-hmm.
base shares. So this is the lower limit that they're targeting, and then if they end up upsizing, APO price here. Technically, this isn't perfectly accurate because some of them had different share prices at whatever, but this is just to make it easier. I just said that APO
Mm-hmm.
price here, and then this would how much they would raise, how much Jamaican they'd raise when you multiply the APO price by the base amount of shares, and then how much they could end up raising if they ended up upsizing
Upsized.
the APO. And then these were how many shares they had prior to the offer. And then this was essentially the percentage increase in the number of shares if they didn't end up upsizing the offer. They just hit like the lower limit, and this would be the percentage share increase if they ended up upsizing the offer. So one of the things I guess I found interesting, so if you look at NCB now, so right now NCB has like 2.5 billion shares, and say whether or not, say they even end up upsizing it, they're going to increase. It's not a huge increase in the share count
Mm-hmm.
versus something like a detail. I don't remember if detail ended up getting upsized, but say if you imagine detail before the APO had like 2.7 billion shares,
Mm-hmm.
and then they were issuing a huge amount of shares. If you met it, they were issuing like over 50% more shares. That's a huge amount of shares. If you think about it, at the end of the day, too, um, stocks are, well, any asset is supply and demand. So even if you end up, so if you end up increasing the supply of the asset, whether it be the stock, the property, the crypto, the cow, whatever, if you don't end up increasing the demand for it, then
The price will go down.
the price will go down. And the issue too is that if you think about it, if there's demand for it, so say detail is doing really good, business is doing well, people want the shares, and then you just feed all of that demand, you give them all the amount of shares they want, then
More
what's
than
going
enough.
to make them want to buy more? So if everybody
Yeah.
gets their shares at $2.20, what's going to make them want to buy their shares at $2.30, at $2.50, at $3 to then increase the share price? The hope, I think, always is that what you do with the money is supposed to grow the business and
Mm-hmm.
make people want to buy it more at some point down the line. But I think the big issue at the times is are like what is really what you do with the money. So what I found interesting about NCB is that you notice comparing these to some of the other APOs, it's not as big, like it's not as big a share issuance essentially relative to the actual size of the company. So yes, it's a good amount, 5 billion, It's not necessarily the largest APO because JMMB did one
Yeah, it's
like
10
what
billion.
if I think they ended up raising the amount, right? Or I don't know if they upsized
Yeah.
it, but they raised like 10 billion, right? That's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
money, and it's a huge increase in the amount of shares. And so I think it will be interesting to see here because one of the things that I was thinking about when I first heard about the APO is that um, NCB is essentially like Leachin's crown jewel. It's how he got, how he became a billionaire, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for him, if he does this thing and he was to issue, maybe if he were to issue 55% more shares and stuff, it would tank the share price and that would tank his wealth. So even though the business looks better, he may end up tanking his wealth. And I'm wondering, is he even going to buy into the APO?
Yeah.
I mean, he said he did. Like, I don't know if you saw, I found the article that had it. So this was an article September last year. So this was even before I think they had mentioned they wanted to do an APO, but you didn't know exactly what was going on. And then he said here, we are going through the process of negotiating the price. So I guess that's how they ended up coming to the 65. And the negotiation will include myself as the major shareholder. Obviously, he owns the company. But bear in mind that my goal is not to be diluted. What he says, notice he says, unless it is accretive. So he's fine being diluted if he thinks it's worth it. And as a
Mm-hmm.
shareholder, I want to make sure that whatever capital is raised minimizes dilution by making sure that the return on the capital far exceeds the dilution, unless we are not doing it, which is essentially what we were just talking about. The issue when you increase the amount of shares, you have to do something to increase the demand. Otherwise, you're going to tank the share price. And at the time, he owned 52%, and he actually had sold some since then. So now he owns just under 50%, or just at 50%. And see, he said there, this article from Observer is reportedly essentially claiming that he said he will be the most significant investor in the APO, but didn't say how many shares he would buy. So I don't know. So what I'm looking for, I'd love to see if he does actually buy. Because buying
Yeah.
is believing, So if he's
Buying
buying
is
and he
believing.
believes in the $65, I think that's a good sign. But I guess we will have to see, bro. We will have to see.
Meds,
We
he
will.
would have to. The article said he had to buy 158 million shares.
Mm-hmm.
If that's at
Well,
65, that's
this.
$10 billion
Well, hold on. No, but this was. So
before he
initially,
sold.
no. This was before cause this was what they got permission to issue 300 million shares, but you notice they aren't issuing that amount of shares.
Ah,
So I
yes,
think this
yes,
was
yes,
based on
true.
that because this is
Mm-hmm.
saying this article is mentioning how much him buying 158 million shares, but
Mm-hmm.
the offer itself isn't even that large.
It's even
So
that large. Yeah, it's 78 mil.
yeah, but I mean, I guess you could work out how much he'd have to buy to maintain his stake.
His
Um,
stake right now is about what percent?
fifty
It's just
percent,
AIC. So 50%.
and I wonder if he may even own.
So it's about,
I wonder if he
he may
owns
own
through like and yeah, maybe he owns personally. I don't know.
you have AIC Global Holdings. You have, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I guess we would see if he does actually buy into the offer afterwards and to see how it
Mm-hmm.
performs.
Not just him,
But
I want to look. I want to see those guys that were saying it's such a steal. I want to see them buying. I want to see
I
them
mean, it's
buying.
funny because people like Patrick Hilton and so on, who no longer work there, they are in top 10.
Yeah, well, let's see if this is correct. This is up to December. He has 3.7 billion shares. Thalia Lynn, I think she's Island Girl. Thalia Lynn is Island Girl, right? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
She
CEO.
rich. She own Island
Sandra
Girl and
Glasgow.
this. Damn.
Yeah, Sandra Glasgow is another
Damn.
heavyweight.
Got
Sanya
rough.
Goff too.
Yeah.
Quite a bit of heavyweights.
Yeah,
Let's see
I'd
if the
love to see them
defenders do.
buying. I'd love to see you
Yeah.
guys buying, man. If you tell me it's so good, I want to see you buying beside me. But yeah,
But
any.
going back to the point about the APO though, I can't
Mhm.
recall even the ones that you showed. Detailed details APO was what, 220? Right now, detail is below $2. It's $1.80. I don't know. $1.83 as of today. If we look at any
Mm.
other stock, JMMB's APO was what price? Right now, JMMB's
Mm.
trading at $24.
But it's
I'm pretty sure
undervalued
that.
then.
I mean, I guess it will stay undervalued for as long
Mm.
because JMMB's APO is from 2019. That's 5 years now.
Is this PE, right?
Oh,
I
six
see a
years.
PE of 2.
Heavily undervalued.
Oh.
Somebody should be buying that up
Uh,
because that PE of 2. Mighty God. Maybe they should do they do these things called a buyback. I think it's called a
I think
buyback.
no, they were doing one. See, they
They're doing a
bought
buyback.
up to February this year.
Oh, I
They
wonder how
bought
much they bought because this is a steal.
25,000 shares.
Excuse me?
They bought
25,000
25,000
shares
shares. Yeah.
in their buyback.
Yeah. Well, as in that was the most recent purchase.
The top
You know
order in
what
the
I
queue is
love?
about
I think
25,000 shares.
you know what I
You
love?
realize
That
that?
I wish I like how GK does their buyback. Let me show you. Their buyback note. Oh, this keeps glitching out. Hold on. GK does a really nice buyback notice. Because let me find it. Yeah, see? Then they buy back pretty frequently. But you
Yeah, they do.
notice they said so they'll say, okay, they tell how much shares are repurchased. And well, for notice they've been buying multiple days, the 18th of April, 19th of April, 22nd, 29th, 30th. And they tell you how much of the shares they're planning to buy, up to 1%.
Yeah.
Because JMB, I think based on the rules, they're supposed to do these stuff in the notice, but I don't know what's going on. They tell you how many shares they're planning to buy up to and how much they've bought back so far. Because you notice JMB, I don't know how much. I'd have to look through every individual note, unless it's just this notice. Hold on, to be fair to JMB, maybe it's just this notice. Maybe they just forgot. Let us check back. So this is from February the 21st.
It probably isn't even their fault. I don't know. It may be JSC because we've seen some stuff
No, but don't
not
they send?
being.
I feel
You'd
like they
have to
send
send
it.
it across to. Yeah, true.
Hold on. But I don't think they bought back for a while.
I'm looking through.
Oh, they bought back in. Oh wow, it's been since October. Okay, so see they tell you the maximum amount of money they plan to spend, 300 million. But it would be nice if they gave you a running counter. Maybe eventually it will look better. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right though. I do like how Grace has laid out, the number of shares, the price that they're buying at,
We
and
said
so
that
on.
they're setting it up. They're setting it up for the US listing. They're getting that stuff
Because
prim and proper.
you can even see in TT dollars how much shares they're buying back to, and so on. Like it's proper. This is good. I like it. But if we talk about even the others, I'm yet to see an APO where the stock price has, surpassed the APO price.
Well, let's see if NCB will
be the first.
So far, I mean, just looking at this at a cursory glance, they're not issuing as many shares in relation to the size of the company. So let's see if NCB will be the outlier.
Right, let's see. Let's see. Their own is a bit unique, yes. In terms of it's the smallest, as you say. Yeah, true. True, Leechin is if he is buying.
Hold on, he said he's buying. We have to wait. We have to actually see him buying.
Yeah. That's why I said if you say he's buying, like his pocket. He's been selling a lot of things recently, but hey,
he actually sold some NCB prior to this, I did this again. He sold hold on, when this I don't know, this keeps bugging out when I try to do this. Like I have to use the regular search thing. I don't know if it's my browser or what. It's loading. Hold on. So there was a notice that actually said. Hold on.
Wait, KP reads. KP reached a subscription price of $7.50, and right now KP Reach is trading at $8.
It sounds like you want a whole episode on APO versus rights issue.
You know, we
You
should.
guys, yeah, guys, let us know if we should do an
Really should.
episode on APO versus rights issue, and also let us know if there's anyone you'd want us to invite on when we do it, when we talk about it, any of previous guests, or even maybe as someone new. Let us know. I'm trying to find the notice.
Yeah. And if you guys, if anybody wants to jump on, somebody in the finance space, and wants to speak about it too, hey, we're open to all invitations.
Because there was a notice where it said Lee Chin essentially sold to I don't know if it was like National Insurance Fund or something like that. You remember seeing that?
No.
And I found it interesting. I
Possibly
remember
did happen.
No, I know it happened. I don't know. Maybe I thought it was more recent than it was. I think there had to be a notice of it because of the size of the. Hold on, Michael Leachin sells NCB shares, or something like that. Oh,
yeah, I found it.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a long. Oh, it was. Oh no, there was one in March. March this year. So how come I didn't see that?
Create liquidity.
I see at big trade. Wait, so how come I'm not seeing it? Oh yeah, so there's a thing here. March 6th this year. He sold $1 billion worth of NCB. Trade took place February 26th. Yeah, so that was the trade I was seeing. See, interesting. So he sold, and notice the price. If this is true, this is saying he sold at $69. So he's still at $69, and then him can buy back in the APO at 65.
Well, he's an NCB employee, so probably all 50 odd.
Yeah, well, the thing is that pool is small, and I feel like it would look away if he takes up all of the pool, because I think that the part of the pool is that they want like employees. The little guys, like not the larger shareholder to be taking it up. National Insurance Fund, it was National Insurance Fund. Okay, see, that's interesting. So that he buys. The interesting part to see is, will the NIF or National Insurance Fund, will they buy into the APO? Because if they're buying at $69 thinking that's a steal, are they gonna? And they're actually in the top. Well, and this, yeah. Oh wow, they increased their stake of meds. This is 33 million shares, and this is saying that they bought 25 million shares. So this is up to December, but then the trade happened February this year, February 2024. So they actually they're higher up now. You were saying something, sorry?
In reality, like the people that would be buying into this are really and truly institutions. Like pensions used to love NCB. I guess I still do, because it's a trident. It's the biggest bank in Jamaica. They love to pay dividends, and the trajectory is so that they can continue to pay dividends. Pension funds and so on love that. Corporations love that. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's really the target market, of course. I also saw it's 22 million shares he sold back in 2023. I see an article from Nationwide, 15th of June 2023, where he sold 22 million shares. Trying to see the price. Oh, at $68. Yeah.
So yeah, the man has sell and buy back in the APO. Oh, let's see.
Yeah.
Let us see. Yeah, but anything else that you want to leave the people with?
Not necessary. Are you buying into the APO?
We'll have to see. I still have some time because it's open yesterday.
It opened yesterday, yeah.
I have to consider my options. Evaluate. the business and so forth.
Mm-hmm. The analysis and the so on and yeah. Okay.
Just buy on the
See, it
market,
makes sense.
bro. No, what? I can literally look at this. Look at this. Look at this. If
Mm-hmm.
if I want to buy, I can buy 1.1 million Jamaican dollars tomorrow worth of NCB, and my price would be $63. I could buy 4.1 million shares, and my price would still be under 65. And it means when you're buying in 65, and there's I think there's some fees and
Yes,
stuff
fees.
associated with it anyway, so you're not really buying at 65. So I don't know, not for me, not for me. But
Mm-hmm.
maybe for some people, yo. The
That's
game is
true.
the game.
If you
Maybe
were
for Lichin.
NCB, would you be buying on the open market
If I
to just
was NCB,
like? So my thing is, it's just for me, it's perception, right? If I was doing an APO, I would try to ensure that my stock price is not close to that APO price, just so people would flock to it more. As I say, it's all perception of value. So if it was trading at $80 and the APO is $60, clearly, it would be
or
more
you're saying
attractive to some
NCB
people.
should be buying through some,
No, it's
I don't
just
know, like a unit
I'm
trust
still
or
trying
something.
to maybe, but not even just that. I'm just justifying you said it. You said it outright that you may not be buying because you can just buy on the open market, and you're very right. So why is the APO price not more discounted than market price? It's the same thing. It's the same thing I had an issue with 138's APO, right? I didn't necessarily hate that deal. I didn't mind it, right? And if certain things happen, I'm pretty sure it would have been massively successful. But one of my biggest issues was that it was so close to market. I think it was above market price. The
No,
APO
I think pretty
price.
sure it was below.
It was $4. There's a point in time I'm pretty sure that it was above market price.
Oh,
Or
but I think most of the time
either
it
way,
was.
it was very close. It was extremely close, and it just made sense to just buy. And right now, 138 is trading way below that. It's $3.70. Compared to the $4, was it $4.40 in their APO
Yeah,
or
but I
something?
mean, wait, what are you arguing? You're saying that they should have put the APO price at lower, like $60?
Either that
But
or
then if it's $60 and it's trading at 65, then people are gonna
not
sell it
60, not
down and
necessarily 60. Suppose why not 50?
but if that's my
Or
thing. If you say 50 and it's trading at 65, so when the APO was announced, the share
mm-hmm.
price was like $60. So that means you're gonna cause people to sell it down then.
Well,
So
I have cash
so
in the
I
tank for support that price. That's how I see it when doing things like this. Clearly there must be more at play. As I said, I'm not really in that financial space. But
Mm.
if it were me, I would have to try and make either my stock
but
price stay up by
but
whatever
you meant
means
something like
necessary.
NCB. You need a lot of money though, and suppose you're playing and
Yeah, you're
someone
playing the
hears
big
window that
games. You
and
want $5 billion. You want $5 billion, right? And that's the minimum you want. That's literally the minimum, because that can be upsized to what, 8 million,
I think that's seven
$8
point
billion.
five.
Sorry, yeah, $7.5 billion. That's just the game you're playing. You have to have a lot of money regardless. You don't have somebody underwriting this. They're on the broker. Like, it's just a game.
Mm.
It's literally just a game.
I don't think they're the
So,
only broker.
I'm not. That's I really am not sure of.
think I think Dan said on the same thing I'm talking about. I think Dan said that Mayberry would be selling it.
Mm.
Pretty sure. Yeah, but yeah. Anything else you want to leave the people with, guys? If you like this video, drop a like. If you want to hear more of reviews, I think a lot more prospectuses will be coming out this year. So if you like these type of reviews, if there's things that you think we could improve on, things you liked, things you didn't like, drop a comment. And once again, if you want the APO versus rights issue episode, and there's someone
have
that
to
you want
subscribe
us
for
to
that.
have on for the episode,
Mm-hmm.
subscribe, drop a like, drop a comment. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it. I think that is it. Limitless out.
Peace.